Why does every sales job feel like a scam? Or at least really sketchy, or at least give that feeling in my tummy of like, I don't know if this is for me. You hear Cutco, you hear pest control, you hear door to door, and it's that feeling right away, that tummy turning type feeling. I felt it too. I almost ghosted my training. I almost walked out of the room, and I would have if I wasn't 3 hours from home. What if that gut feeling is actually the test and most people fail it? Hey, drop a subscribe, follow me on Instagram at Unlock with Alex, or see my journey at alex.funk if you've ever ghosted an opportunity because it just didn't feel right. Now, I want to talk about, why do sales jobs, or at least the one that I grew up in, why does it feel like a scam at first? And the first thing is, I don't think that gut feeling is wrong. I think it's just misinterpreted. Here's what I mean. I read a book once. It was called The Art of the Impossible. And in this book, it talked about how these amazing athletes and business people and crazy tightrope over Niagara Falls type people do these impossible things. The book explains this feeling called the roller coaster feeling. And that's where you get that uneasiness in your body when something is unknown. Now, most people will walk away from an opportunity when they get that feeling. And what most people don't realize is what they're walking away from. The book talks about the difference between a normal, average person and someone who does impossible, successful things in the world, is that they are really good at identifying, okay, I'm feeling that unknown feeling in my body. Now I need to identify, is this a threat or is this a challenge? And if there's not consciousness to this, the unconscious will automatically choose this is a threat and walk away. That fight or flight or freeze type of mentality. The sales job feels different or feels sketchy, not because it's wrong, not because it's bad, but because it's different. And in order to do it, it would force you to grow through that feeling of discomfort. And there are times when people feel that feeling and step into it. That's personal growth. That's moving schools. That's trying a new job. That's going to a mastermind conference where you're the smallest person in the room. Think back to your first week at college or orientation, that feeling in your body, but because you had to step into it, you ended up growing as a result. And that's usually what sales jobs will do for people. But you first have to identify, why do I feel this way? Now, I want to shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about helping reframe. This job isn't about making money. This job isn't about selling anything. This job is about skills. Here's the uncomfortable truth that most people don't recognize until 3, 4, 5 years later, or that they see in other people who've done a sales job, skills that they haven't developed or just won't develop. And that's why you see some 40, 50, 60-year-olds that, yeah, they're older, but they aren't more mature. They don't have more skills. And it's because they stopped growing and they started choosing comfort. Not all jobs teach skills. So here's 8 things that somebody gets or doesn't get from trying a sales job. Number 1, can't hold or deal with hard, crucial conversations. They become passive roommates, passive partners, passive family members, because they're afraid of confrontation and having a hard conversation that, even though they know they should have it, they haven't developed those skills in order to be able to bring up concerns, address others' concerns, a skill that someone directly gets from trying a sales job and going through sales training. Number 2, they're afraid to speak up. They're afraid to speak their mind. They're afraid that, hey, what I say might not be valuable or might not be worth it. And they aren't exactly sure how to communicate their needs. That could lead to not getting promoted. That could lead to being walked on in a relationship. That could lead to unresolved resentment with their parents. Number 3, without learning sales, they never learn how to follow up professionally. Here's the reality of the world that we live in. It takes 2, 3, 4, 5 follow-ups in order sometimes to get somebody's business. This is not an entry-level sales thing. This is not a beginner sales job. This is life. For me, with our Airbnbs and our real estate stuff, if someone doesn't follow up with me a couple, 3, 4, 5 times, they're probably not going to get my business because I'm going to forget why I reached out in the first place, or I probably reached out to 5 companies at once. And so learning how to professionally follow up and how to continue to persist until a deal is done or until a situation is resolved is a skill that someone has to learn if they learn sales, and doing it in a way that's not annoying or pesty or anything like that, but doing it in a way that's professional and makes everyone feel good. Number 4, when someone doesn't learn sales, they don't learn the entrepreneurial gift of understanding value exchange. Value exchange. And what happens when someone doesn't understand value exchange in the world is they will settle for jobs with hourly pay. They will settle for not starting their own business, and they will settle into a career that feels safe, but doesn't actually maximize their potential. I could make an entire and probably will make a bunch of videos about this, but we have a guy on our Airbnb team right now. We brought him on in December. Now we have 8 doors. Our goal is to scale to 20, 30, 40. And we brought him on as a maintenance guy. We've been paying him hourly. He wanted the same hourly rate that he got from the county jail to basically watch cameras, $31 an hour to watch cameras. The government paid him that. And I told him, we can't pay you that. We don't have enough revenue to pay someone to just sit around and watch cameras. Like the real world doesn't work like that. The government might, because they're always overspending. They're always in debt. But there's a reason almost every company ends up going under eventually. It's because the money runs out. And so if you don't understand value exchange, you won't understand how to leverage yourself to get promoted, how to leverage yourself into other opportunities. And you would never be able to start your own business that maximizes your potential in a capitalistic society that we live in if you don't understand the art of value exchange. And that's something in Cutco anyway, we cover on the second day of training. We do the whole day is understanding value exchange. Number 5, when someone doesn't have sales skills, most of the time they don't have confidence in their own voice. At least that's true for me. Before Cutco, I was very not confident. I was the chubby kid growing up, the middle cousin, middle child. I didn't have self-confidence. It didn't exist in my world. And thanks to Cutco, thanks to selling a lot of Cutco, but also just putting myself out there, growing through uncomfortable situations, sitting in front of so many customers, I learned and grew into self-confidence in that skill. Self-confidence comes from self-awareness and self-acceptance of saying, I know who I am and I love who I am, and I have gifts that I can use in this world. And when someone goes through the sales job, they really start to understand what their strengths are and what their pros and what their weaknesses are and how they can leverage that in a job or opportunity that best fits them instead of, again, just settling. Rapid fire last 3. Number 6, they don't know how to sell themselves, how to get promoted, right? How to get their dream job, how to fight for what they're worth. Number 6, time management. Again, I have videos on this on my channel, but I can make so many videos about the art of time awareness, time management, time mastery, priority management, understanding how to leverage calendar, time block, all of those things. And because someone is their own boss when they're in a sales job, they can work as much as they want. They can make as much money as they want. The downfall is usually it also means they manage their schedule. They build it themselves. And if they don't have that skill, they're just not going to make money doing a sales job, which is a hard reality check of life, which is, hey, if you want to start your own business, there's nobody coming to save you. You have to learn that skill. And then last thing is lack of vision. Something that we cover in our office. See, I'm still with Cutco. I've been with Cutco for 6 years at this point. I don't make a lot of Cutco videos anymore, but I'm a sales manager with the company and I work directly with new reps all the time. And the problem that I see with them is they don't have a vision. They don't know yet where they're trying to go. And you might relate to this. Your family asks you, hey, what are you going to do with your life? No clue. I don't know. And when someone does a sales job, it forces so much introspection because you can't just show up and go through the motions. You control your destiny. So if you don't have an end goal, if you don't have targets, it's impossible to just show up. And here's the reality of life. It's the same thing with health. It's the same thing with relationships. Without intentionality, it's really easy to fall back into lack of success. It's easy to fall back into nothingness, especially with social media and dopamine and TV and Netflix and Severance season 2. It's always easy to fall into nothing. You have to be intentional. And when someone does a sales job and is their own boss in that way, that's a skill. So again, these 8 things, these are all skills that sales helps somebody get, but they would never learn most of these skills if they never force themselves to go through the discomfort of figuring out, I don't know if I want to do sales. I don't know if this is for me, but at least I'm going to find out. I made this video because when I first heard about the job of selling Cutco, I didn't know anything about it. So I just was like, yeah, sure. I'm going to show up to try. I was broke, college student. It was winter break and I had the opportunity to earn some money. And I said, sure, I'll try it out. Sounds pretty easy to me. And luckily I didn't do research on TikTok or Reddit or whatever. I just showed up. And then when I got there, I got that gut feeling. Now, what I think is happening a lot is people get that gut feeling. Then they do research, TikTok, Reddit, whatever. And they get all these false perspectives of what the job is. They get all these false truths of what the job entails. And a lot of it's just frankly not true, but a lot of it is confirmation bias of, this is uncomfortable. Let me find all the reasons that this isn't going to work or this isn't legitimate. For me, again, I showed up to training. I was 3 hours from home. I started getting that feeling in my tummy. I wanted to leave. I wanted to quit. I wanted to retreat, but I couldn't because I was 3 hours from home. And luckily I didn't go, 2018, if there was TikTok, I didn't have it. And I didn't do any research online. I called my mom. My mom said, hey, we have Cutco. And I said, well, seems legit to me. So I stuck out training, even though it was massively uncomfortable. I wanted to ghost. I did. That's normal because it's uncomfortable, but I stuck it out. I learned the skills. I ended up selling a lot because people love the product. And that's what I'd say too. If you're going to try a sales job, do a job where people love the product, where you can feel really good about what you're selling. So if you're going to do any research, that's the research is how good is this product? Do people love it? Do people buy more of it? Where is it made? How long has the company been around? Those things matter way more than what people's opinions are online that never actually did the job. That's like if someone wrote off McDonald's for the rest of their life because they read some one-star reviews about McDonald's. Of course there's one-star reviews. Of course there's lawsuits, but that's not everyone's experience. I love a Big Mac personally. So what you actually learn in sales, I already kind of talked about most of the true life skills, but other than that, learning how to make phone calls, learning how to handle rejection like a grown-up, learning the art of negotiation. We would not have 8 doors in our real estate portfolio, almost $10,000 a month of passive income as a 25-year-old, working more so as a hobby and for fun. That wouldn't be the reality if I didn't have the skill set I learned from selling Cutco and running a sales team within Cutco for the past 6 years. It just wouldn't be, I just wouldn't have the skills. I wouldn't have the network. I wouldn't have the community, and I wouldn't have no idea how to do this stuff. I also would not have the confidence to put myself out there and take the risks that it's taken to get to the spot that I'm at. It's just the truth. Learning how to lead yourself, learning how to lead others, learning executive level time management, not wasting time anymore, understanding commission and value rather than just hourly wage, how to present yourself like a pro. Look, you don't need to sell Cutco. You don't need to knock for pest control. You don't need to sell cars, sell solar. I don't care. But I do think you should do something in the arena of sales as an 18 to 22-year-old to start the process of developing these skills that most people never get. Because whether you work in sales, entrepreneurship, business long-term or not, having these skills on your resume is a major differentiator in job interviews because it tells employers that you're willing to do something very uncomfortable at first in order to get all of those things that nobody else in your interview has. So last thing, speaking specifically, if you're watching this from the lens of, I heard about Cutco or I was set up for an interview or something like that, that's the job that I've worked with and worked around for the past 6 years. So I know the most about it. In terms of all the scam and sketchy and all of that, I think I covered where most of that comes from. But just to very clearly debunk some of the things I see on the internet, you don't need to buy a sample kit. You don't need to buy anything. You don't get paid when somebody else starts the job. We have a referral program. We love leaning into it because it's way more fun working with someone's friends than working with a bunch of strangers that applied online. It's just the truth. You can quit whenever you want. So you're not contractually obligated to sell Cutco for the rest of your life. You could quit halfway through training. There is a base pay for every appointment completed with a target market person. And then there's also commission, which is how, as a 19-year-old, I made over $5,000 over winter break. And then I said, whoa, I think I'm going to keep doing this. Does everyone earn that much commission? No. But I always say it like this. Selling Cutco, a sales job in general, is like doctor school. A lot of people show up for the first step, right? A lot of people show up to undergrad saying, I'm going to be a doctor. And then it actually gets hard. And then they actually have to put work in. And a lot of people will retreat. A lot of people won't make $5,000 selling Cutco over summer break, but some people will. And who are those some people? Are they the rich people with connections? Are they whatever? No, they're the people that just do the work. And that's the hard truth. So just in closing, you don't have to love sales. You don't have to do it forever. You don't have to do it at all, but you should get those skills. And I think the easiest way to do it from my own experience and what's been the backbone of me building what we have in this channel and at Unlock with Alex on Instagram, go follow it, check it out. The backbone of all of that is selling Cutco and doing a sales job since I was 19 years old and being around the people that I've been around that are also choosing to do hard things and just do life a little bit differently. So before you ghost your interview, before you ghost training, ask yourself, am I avoiding something hard and am I avoiding something important? Thank you for watching. Now, if you are already in sales, make sure you follow at Unlock with Alex on Instagram. I'm helping sales grinders go from 100K, 150K in earnings to escaping the grind, doing it for fun, and doing that through investing in cash flow, Airbnb, and real estate. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you just started your first sales job, scroll back a whole bunch in my channel, and you'll see a lot of my first 100 videos that help you maximize that opportunity, especially selling Cutco. And very last thing, check out thedreamslist.com to see my book and and read the exact processes and roadmap that helped me as a 2021, 22-year-old cross off 250 dreams, including skydiving, treadmill marathon, buying my first 2 houses, setting up first Airbnb, doing a bodybuilding competition, and so many other things. Live life intentionally. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.